Have you ever wondered what secrets lie within the DNA of India's diverse population? The genetic story of India is both intricate and captivating, unfolding over millennia and involving a myriad of ancient peoples and migrations. This rich history is not merely academic, it shapes the very fabric of daily life and culture across the subcontinent today. To truly grasp the origins of India's population, we must first understand the pivotal role played by ancient migrations and interactions. These movements of people brought with them not just new genes, but also languages, traditions, and technologies that significantly influenced the genetic landscape of the region. From the earliest human migrations out of Africa to the complex interplay of indigenous and incoming groups, each layer of genetic history adds depth to our understanding of India's past. The story begins with the ancient indigenous populations who formed the bedrock of India's genetic makeup. Over thousands of years, their interactions with newcomers crafted a unique genetic mosaic that tells the story of resilience, adaptation, and survival. Join us as we delve into the ancient roots of India, starting with the first inhabitants. Imagine stepping back thousands of years to meet India's first inhabitants. Long before the rise of cities and civilizations, the Indian subcontinent was a stage for one of humanity's earliest dramas. The initial characters in this story were the pioneering groups who ventured out of Africa, navigating through diverse landscapes and climates. These early adventurers were the architects of India's first distinct genetic lineages, setting the foundational genetic tapestry of the region. As these groups settled and spread across the vast expanse of the subcontinent, they adapted to their new environments. Over millennia, their isolation from other populations allowed them to develop unique genetic characteristics. These characteristics are not just footnotes in history, they form the bedrock of India's genetic diversity. Their survival and adaptation influenced the genetic structure we observe today in the Indian population, providing a base upon which layers of migrations and interactions would build. These ancient lineages paved the way for dramatic changes brought by later migrations. Around 4,000 years ago, a new wave of migrants began to make their mark on India. These were the Indo-European speakers, whose arrival is one of the pivotal moments in the genetic history of the subcontinent. Originating from the steppes of Central Asia, these groups migrated through the rugged terrains of the Northwest, bringing with them a whole new cultural and linguistic framework. The languages of this family, including Sanskrit, which would later influence many modern languages of North India, were just the tip of the iceberg. The cultural practices introduced by these Indo-European migrants were profound. They brought with them rituals and societal structures that would deeply integrate into the existing fabric of local societies. This integration wasn't just cultural, but also genetic. Studies indicate a significant genetic mingling, which contributed to the diverse genetic tapestry we observe in both North and South India today. This genetic influence is evident in the way populations in North India show a mixture of ancestral North Indian and steppe ancestries. In South India, despite a stronger genetic continuity with ancient populations, there is still notable evidence of Indo-European genetic traits, albeit to a lesser degree. The integration of these Indo-European migrants with the indigenous populations wasn't merely a fusion, it was a complex, multi-layered assimilation that influenced the demographic and cultural outlines of the subcontinent. The Indo-European migration was just the beginning of a long history of cultural and genetic blending. Long before the Indo-Europeans, the Dravidian peoples had a profound impact on India. As one of the oldest groups in the subcontinent, their roots can be traced back to the enigmatic Indus Valley civilization, known for its advanced urban planning and vibrant culture. The Dravidians not only shaped the early societal structures, but also left a lasting genetic imprint. Delving into the genetic tapestry of South India, studies reveal a remarkable continuity that underscores the deep historical presence of Dravidian genes. This continuity is less about isolation and more about a profound legacy that has interwoven itself with the migrations and interactions that followed. The genetic makeup of modern South Indians showcases a rich mosaic of ancient Dravidian lineages, combined subtly with influences from later arrivals. This genetic evidence supports the theory that the Dravidian languages, which are predominant in South India today, have been spoken for thousands of years, reflecting a long-standing and continuous cultural and genetic lineage. The Dravidian influence remains a significant thread in the fabric of India's genetic history. India has also been a crossroads for migrations from Central Asia and the Middle East. Over the centuries, these movements have woven a complex pattern into the genetic fabric of the Indian subcontinent. Each wave of migration brought with it distinct genetic markers, influencing the population in multifaceted ways. From the steppes of Central Asia, nomadic tribes ventured into India, bringing with them a rich genetic diversity that particularly impacted the northern regions. These groups introduced new cultural practices and languages, blending seamlessly into the local tapestry. Similarly, traders and migrants from the Middle East traversed into Western India, leaving behind genetic imprints that are evident in the populations of Gujarat and Maharashtra today. The genetic influence of these migrations is not uniform but varies significantly across different regions. In North India, the genetic makeup shows a substantial influence from Central Asian ancestors, while West India exhibits markers that trace back to Middle Eastern origins. Each migration added new threads to the intricate tapestry of Indian genetics. From north to south, east to west, India's genetic landscape is incredibly diverse. As we delve into the genetic intricacies of India, it becomes apparent that each region offers a unique genetic story shaped by millennia of migrations, trade, and cultural practices. In the north, the genetic imprint of Indo-European and Central Asian ancestors is prominent, reflecting a long history of invasions and cultural exchanges. This area shows a complex intermingling of genes, where the past whispers through the DNA of its modern inhabitants. Moving to the western regions, particularly in Gujarat and Maharashtra, there's a notable influence from Middle Eastern migrations. These interactions have not only enriched the cultural fabric, but also introduced distinct genetic markers that differentiate the populations of these areas from their southern and eastern counterparts. In the south, the story shifts. Here, the genetic continuity with ancient indigenous populations is more pronounced, with Dravidian genes playing a dominant role. This region, with its rich history tied to the Indus Valley civilization, displays a genetic lineage that has been less influenced by external migrations compared to the north. Eastern India presents yet another fascinating chapter. Here, the genetic links stretch towards Southeast Asia, evidence of ancient trade routes and migrations that have left their mark on the people of this region. This intricate mosaic of genetic signatures across India not only highlights the sheer diversity of the subcontinent, but also tells tales of ancient journeys, battles, and unions. This diversity is not just a matter of history, but is still evident in the genetic fabric of India today. As we've explored, India's genetic history is as diverse and complex as its culture. The journey through time reveals a rich tapestry of human movement and interaction, shaping the genetic landscape we see today. From the ancient indigenous populations whose roots stretch back to the very first human migrations out of Africa, to the profound impact of the Indo-European and Dravidian peoples, each wave of migration has left its mark. These groups brought with them not only their languages and customs, but also their DNA, contributing to the genetic diversity that characterizes the Indian subcontinent. Further influences came from Central Asia and the Middle East, each adding new threads to India's genetic fabric. The resulting regional diversity is striking, with North, South, East, and West India each displaying unique genetic signatures shaped by millennia of migration, isolation, and cultural exchange. The caste system's role in shaping genetic clusters through endogamous practices adds another layer to this complex genetic story. Understanding our genetic past not only enlightens us about our history, but also connects us in our human journey.